Today I'm doing something that I've never done before, an adventure race. It's a combination of biking, running up mountains, and kayaking over miles and miles of terrain with tons of elevation. It's quite possibly one of the toughest challenges I've ever taken on, and it's pushed me to my absolute limits of physical strength and endurance. This video isn't going to be pretty or cinematic, but it is going to be raw and real. Lots of my POV on this 10-hour adventure, paddling, biking, hiking, and trying my darnest not to get lost. Good morning, everybody. 5 minutes and this race begins. The hardest and longest race I've ever entered. This is an adventure race. We're starting with about 7 miles of kayaking. Then there's going to be somewhere around 20 to 25 miles of biking and 5 to 8 miles of running. It's taking place in the rugged mountains surrounding Lake Tahoe, starting at around 6,500 feet and gaining and losing 5,000 to 7,000 feet of elevation. And I had never attempted anything like this before. I'm starting this adventure off with a quote. "You are never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream." This is something C.S. Lewis once wrote, the writer of the Chronicles of Narnia, one of my favorite books as a child. I've always had a curious mind, so dreaming new dreams and setting new goals is just part of my routine. It's how I stay interested in life and motivated to stay in shape. It certainly doesn't make taking on something new any less difficult, but I've come to look forward to finding the next obstacle that forces me to dive deep and channel that never give up spirit that I know is within me. Now, any real adventure has some level of failure, and this race had all of the above. The first section of the race was 7 miles of kayaking along the shoreline of North Lake Tahoe. This is the largest freshwater lake in the Sierra Nevada mountains, straddling the border between California and Nevada. It stretches 22 miles at its longest and widest point, and due to its large size and proximity to the mountains, it can also have some pretty fierce weather. We started the race around 8 a.m., and the goal was for every person to cross the finish line by 4 p.m. or sooner, getting as many checkpoints as they possibly can. You can enter as an individual or in teams of 2, 3, or 4, which gave people in double kayaks quite an advantage in speed. Now, I don't kayak often, but I also thought this would be the easiest stretch of the race for me. The paddle out to checkpoint 1 was around 2.5 miles in one direction, and this was by far one of the easiest navigation points to find, and it pretty much all goes downhill from here. Now, as I paddled back to the beach, the waves and the wind started to pick up, making the paddle back a bit more of a challenge. Figuring that I would be slow on the bike, I decided to go after kayak checkpoint 2, which was about half a mile past the beach, hidden on a floating buoy beyond the moored boats in the harbor. Now, each checkpoint that you can pick up gives you points, and these, combined with your finishing time, are how you secure your place. Now, most racers opted to skip this second kayak point and get straight on their bikes, so I was already behind, and I learned quickly that there's some sort of strategy that goes into these adventure races that I had yet to learn. All right, leg number 1 is done. I look ridiculous because my visor is on my bike helmet, but leg number 2 starts now, which is 24 miles of biking with some running in there as well. Now, the biking section was the longest, with an estimated 25 miles to be pedaled over road, dirt, and trail. And this part is really where my route finding would be imperative. In the team event, usually one person is selected to be the route finder, and they will focus on finding the most optimal trails or roads for the team to traverse. Since I entered this race solo, I was on my own. Almost every point had several ways one could get to it. Some added miles, while others added challenging terrain, steep hills, and lots of switchbacks. I'm certainly no Lance Armstrong, and within a few minutes on my bike was already huffing and puffing and needing to walk. If you've never tried orienteering, it's basically the sport of navigating from point A to point B, but only with a map and compass. And in this race, in lieu of getting map coordinates, we were given a list of clues based on one's careful copying of the master map at the race's start. Okay, so this one said Central Park in Northridge, which is that sign over there, 32 paces, 272 degrees, and I just found it. All right, first point on the bike is in the bag. There are 6 in total that you can get. My goal is to get to the 2nd and the 6th, and then start the running portion. And then, depending on what time it is, I'll try to get one more before finishing. After getting that first checkpoint on the bike, I was feeling pretty positive. The next required point was point 6, which was about 6 or so miles to the southwest, and between here and there were 3 other checkpoints that could be captured. I decided that checkpoint 2 seemed like it was on the way, so I headed in that direction. There was just one problem. I neglected to read the legend on this map, and I just kept choosing the trails that looked like they were the most direct without taking into consideration the terrain or type of trail. So single tracks and hiking trails were in my future, and it was not going to be easy. This is a hiking trail. I was biking parts of the Tahoe Rim Trail, a well-known hiking and backpacking trail that stretches 170 miles around Lake Tahoe. This loop was established in 2001, linking hiking paths with Pony Express routes and game trails used by Indigenous people. It's a challenging backpacking route with a lot of elevation, and it's also a challenging biking trail that had me constantly switching from riding to walking to avoid large boulders, giant tree roots, and all kinds of other obstacles that were a bit above my ability level on a bike. Is my chain falling off? Yeah. Okay, so a couple months ago I went out riding with this bike and I completely broke this off my bike. It was fixed. It just broke again. And I don't think it's something I can fix. Okay, it might work. Ugh. Okay, I got the chain back on. I still think something is broken, but I can pedal and we're back up. Okay, so I've made it to where checkpoint 2 should be, TRT and Upper Watson Creek Trail, which is there, and it says it should be directly uphill by a large tree. So, uphill by a large tree. Different trail junction. Same trails. There's just 2 junctions. Here it is. After point 2, I had a hard time deciding which route was best, and after biking uphill for about 3/4 of a mile, I decided it seemed faster to go another way, so I backtracked and found myself pushing my bike up a series of extremely steep and seemingly never-ending uphills on a dirt road. Okay, there should be another one here somewhere. All right, I can't find that one. It was 40 paces and 92 degrees from that trail junction, which would be somewhere in here. I walked all through the woods. I can't find it, which sucks because this was a lot of uphill to not make this one. It had been ages since I had seen any other racers. The last two had told me that they were going back to the start and skipping the rest of the race. I was, however, determined to finish all the stages of this race and make it back to the beginning. Here is the next flag. Yes! After point 4, I again got turned around. I really needed some downhill, so I chose a trail that looked like it descended down the mountain instead of going uphill. And I was hoping this would provide some easier terrain, but then I ran into another racer who told me that to get to point 6, I needed to actually go back the way I had just come. So, turning around again, I headed back up the trail. Okay, I just checked into number 6. I got a new map because these are the places that you have to go to for running. You have to hit at least one. So the guys at the checkpoint said it wasn't too terrible. I should at least try to get to the first one. So that's what I'm doing now. And then I'll have to return back to my bike and return to the starting line. So let's go. The flag is at the top of the knoll, so it should be somewhere up there. This is brutal walking in this. That was some bushwhacking. I made it to the top of the knoll, and right over there is the stamp. Right, and now to get back to my bike. Let's go. Back on my bike, my goal now was to just stay on the pavement and get back as quickly as possible. The finish line was about 8 miles away, but at least I'd be on the pavement this time. I made it to the finish line. I completed every section, so I'm not disqualified. I may have gotten here dead last, but lots of people didn't finish or didn't continue on like halfway through the day. So I'm really happy that I finished and that I'm here. It's about 6:15 p.m. so 10 hours instead of 8, but wow, that was definitely an adventure.